I want to refer you next to this handout. It looks like this, and I would like you to work on question number 10 about the death penalty. So in this table, there are fractions, or in this case they're given as decimals, of people who favor the death penalty or oppose it, and whether they're Republican, Democrat, or other, which I've duplicated on the board here. So this table is followed by 4 questions, parts A, B, C, and D, and I would like you to work on those questions as practice. This table is virtually identical to the last one. Some people get really thrown off just because these numbers are decimals. If you're getting thrown off just because these numbers are decimals, then you can hold on for a few seconds and I'll give you a hint about that. Otherwise, pause the video and take a shot at it yourself, and then unpause when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so first, if you're looking for a hint about the decimals, some people get confused when they see anything that's not a whole number. What do I do? They're decimals. I'm so scared. Okay, that really doesn't change the math. I hope, first of all, that you remembered to do your totals. You're going to need row totals and column totals. If you add these decimals across, you get 0.3. Here you get 0.36. Here you get 0.34. And if you add all of those together, you're going to get 1. So in this case, the number 1 basically represents the grand total as, this basically means 100%. So, and you can also add these columns down. I didn't do that yet, but I wanted to kind of show you how this all works, so that if you choose from among all the people in the survey, then your denominator will be 1, and therefore your probability will just be whatever you get on top. Okay, so again, that was your hint about how to deal with the decimals. I recommend that you pause this video, take as much time as you need to work on this worksheet yourself, and then unpause to check your answers. All right, so here I've gone ahead and filled in the column totals as well. A total of 62% of the people favor the death penalty, 38% oppose it. Now, if we look at this handout and go to Part A, it says, what's the probability that a randomly chosen voter favors the death penalty? So another way of saying that is, if you choose a voter, what's the probability that that voter favors the death penalty, right? Because it uses the phrase randomly chosen voter. All right, so we know that we're choosing from among all the voters, and that's represented by the number 1. Favor. Okay, it looks like the total who favors is 0.62. So that probability is 0.62 as a decimal. Again, you could turn that into a percent if you want to, or a fraction, 62/100ths, which reduces to 31/50. So all those answers are correct and equivalent. The next question says, B, what's the probability that a Republican favors the death penalty? Okay, so here we have to understand how to reword the question slightly as saying, if you choose a blank, what's the probability that blank? So here they said a randomly chosen Republican. So if you choose a Republican, what's the probability that he favors the death penalty? Okay, so if you choose a Republican, you're in the top row. So Republicans go on the bottom of the fraction. That's 0.3. How many of those favor the death penalty? It's 0.26. Okay, so that's the same as 26 over 30, which reduces to 13 over 15. All right, shift your decimal points over 2 places. Part C, what's the probability that a voter who favors the death penalty is a Democrat? So in other words, this problem is saying if you choose someone who favors the death penalty, what's the probability that it is a Democrat? So we put the total favor on the bottom of the fraction, 0.62. Now out of those 0.62, remember we ignore everybody else now, out of these 0.62, how many are Democrats? 0.12. Or 12 out of 62, or 6 out of 31. And finally, part D, a candidate thinks she has a good chance of gaining the votes of anyone who is a Republican or in favor of the death penalty. What portion of the voters is that, Republican or in favor? Okay, so in this problem, in other words, we're choosing from among all the voters, and we want to find the probability that the voter is a Republican or in favor. So we learned that formula. This is the complicated one. We have to add together the probability of Republican plus the probability of being in favor, and then subtract the probability of being Republican and in favor. So the probability of Republican is this row total, 0.3. The probability of being in favor is this column total, 0.62. But we don't want to count these people twice, the overlap, so we have to subtract that part away. So we end up with 0.6868%. No, I don't think I did that correctly, 0.66, I'm sorry. Okay, so those are the kinds of problems that you might be very likely to see on the GRE.